Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to math. Today, we're going to continue working on those ellipses from last class. Last class, we had a chart that told us all the information of which one to use, x-axis or y-axis, okay? Remember, the first one starts off with x minus h, which is if your ellipsis opens horizontally. If it opens vertically, it's y minus k, okay? All right, now that you know that from last class, we can start out today's concept. Today's concept is to know, okay, how to create equations. That is our objective of the concept for today, because remember, we're still doing ellipses. The equation we're going to use, it's down here. It looks a little confusing. Let me go over it with you, okay? There are three things our ellipses are going to need, okay? The three things are our major axis, our minor axis, and our foci. Okay, it's a fancy word, foci. Now do you know what three things we need to use? They revolve around this equation. The reason is because those three things are A equals your major axis, B is your minor axis, and C is your distance from center to foci, okay? If you guys remember the foci from last class. The foci is, think of a radius. On a circle, your radius is from the center to the edge, okay? Foci is half of that, okay? Half the radius. From center to edge is the radius. Foci is only half of that. Now that you know those basic things, we can start on today's concept. Our problem says we have a major axis, okay, at -2, -2, and comma, -2 and 8. So let's graph those points. You have -1, -2, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, we have -2, because remember, our x-axis on both is -2. So all we have to do is plot our point, -2, -2, -2, -2, and then -2 on the same axis, just go up to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? All right, now that we have our major axis, notice that if this is our major axis, is our parabola going to open horizontally or vertically? Okay? If you look at this one, it already gives you your major axis, which is vertically, right? So we know that out of the two equations we have on the chart, okay, we're using the second equation. If you look at the chart, it says standard form of the equation. It says that the first one is x minus h squared over 2a plus y minus h or minus k. We're not going to use that one. We're going to use the other one where it says y minus k squared over 2a, okay? That's the one we're using because our ellipsis is going to be vertical. Now, we're trying to find the center of this ellipse. There's a few ways we can find the center, okay? We can either find the distance using the distance formula to find the distance and then just cut it in half, or we can do a very simple way, okay? We know our y-axis, okay? We have -2, put it over here, -2, and then we have 8, okay? Those are our two y-axis. So we can find the distance from -2 to 8. So we have -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, that's 5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Notice that it's 10 units away, okay? Again, you could use distance formula to solve it, or you could just use your graph to count them, okay? So the distance is 10. Half of 10 would be 5. So we can count 5 from either point, okay? So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? So our center is now here, which is -2 on the x and 1, 2, 3. 3 on the y. So -2 and 3 is our center. Now that we have our center, we can say center or vertex. Okay, center is -2 and 3. That's gonna come handy later on, okay? The center. Also, now that we have the distance between our points, we can actually find our foci, okay? Our foci is halfway the radius. So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the radius, okay? Or technically 4. We have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that means 1, 2, 3, okay? Which is center, at center, because we have 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 in each direction, okay? So we have our foci. A distance of 3, okay? So the Alright guys, so now that we have our foci, which the distance is 3, okay? We have our center, okay? We can use those formulas, okay? Or those pieces of information, okay? To plug it into our equation, okay? Here, if you guys remember, A is our major axis, which our major axis, okay, in this case is the distance for our center, okay, of our axis. Since the whole axis is 10, our A is 5, okay, because it's cut in half from the major axis to the center. So we have C squared equals, okay, A, which A is, again, major axis, but in this case is from distance to major axis, which is 5. So we have 5 squared minus our minor axis. We still don't know our minor axis, okay? So we're going to put B squared. If you guys remember, C is our distance from center to foci. We already found that. Our center to foci is 3. So we can actually add 3 to C. So we have 3 squared equals 5 squared minus B squared. Okay? Keep in mind, we have 3 times 3, okay, which is 9. 9 equals 25, because 5 times 5 is 25, minus B squared. We are going to move the B squared to the other side, so it becomes positive B squared. So we have B squared plus 9 equals 25. Then we get rid of the 9 to move it to the other side. So B squared equals 25 minus 9. Okay? So 25 minus 9, which is, does anybody know? 16. It's 16. Okay? So now that we know what B squared is, we can actually solve for just B if we square it. So the square root of 16 is 4. So B equals 4. So we know that the distance, okay, from the center to the edges of the minor axis is 4. So we can say 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So our parabola or our ellipsis looks like this. Obviously, it's supposed to be kind of like an A, but again, this is not art. Okay, now that we have our ellipse, okay, all we have to do is write the equation. In order to write the equation, we know that we have to use, again, y minus k squared 2a plus x minus h squared b equals 1. Okay? Now that we have that equation in there, we know which one to use. All we have to do is plug in all of the information in there. Okay? So the way we're going to plug it in is we have y, stays the same, but wait, we know what k is. Okay? In this case, we keep the equation as it is. Our k is our center. If you guys remember, we have h and k. Okay, for our center. So our k is 3 over 2a. If you guys remember, 2a in this case is 5 squared. Okay, because remember, we plug in 5. So 5 squared is 25. So we can say 25 plus, don't forget the square on top, x minus h. Since the negative 2 is already in there, negative and negative makes it positive, plus 2 squared over b squared. Again, b squared is 16, okay? 16 equals 1, okay? I will allow you to have it if you want 5 squared and 4 squared instead. That's fine too, okay? Again, this is our final product. This is what we're trying to arrive to create our equation. Make sure, if you have any questions, to let me know. Make sure you have everything on your notes. Okay? Submit your answers as soon as you're done watching the video, and I'll be here waiting for your email.